Yay, we are here. The energy, resilience, and confidence blueprint. You are going to discover in this hopefully short-ish video, discover how professional women and business owners over 40, there's some, I break the rules a little bit, are doubling their energy, feeling calmer and confident again, and finally loving their life, their business, and their careers without fad diets, endless supplements, or endless self-care routines. So maybe you can relate. You're a woman over 40, you're stressed, you're overwhelmed, you're tired, you've got no clear thinking and focus, and you feel like you're on the treadmill of life and life is passing you by. And it's an endless list of things that need to be done. You've done the magnesium, you've done the massages, you've learned meditation, you've done a yoga class. Maybe you've even done some talk therapy to learn about having good, strong boundaries and how to say no to people. Or maybe you go on a nice tropical holiday every year. And let's be clear and honest. Those things either help a little bit, or they don't help at all, or you go back to your normal life and things go back to normal. The good news is it doesn't have to be so hard. You've been lied to as to how to actually manage stress and deal with stress and recover from burnout. And we're going to talk a lot about stress today, but I want you to understand that stress is more than what you've been told that it is. You've been told it's psychological, emotional stress. Yes, and we're going to talk about that. And you've also been told that you either have to deal with it, cope with it, and put up, and there's no other option, or run away from your life. And it's kind of this, I can have this or I can have this, but I can't have both. What I have found through 23 years of clinical practice, and I'm going to share a little bit about my story shortly and some stories of some of the clients that I've worked with, is that it is possible to have both. It is possible to live from a place of joy, resilience, and fulfillment and love for your life, and be able to live it full out without feeling like you've got to give up and sacrifice things. It is possible to do both, and there's just a knack to doing it, and we're going to cover some of that today. So strap in. We're going to go fast because I really want to make this short, and I'm already 3 minutes in. So I'm going to share some stories about just some women, and these are screenshots from just a few of the women that I've worked with, but they have really, like, one of the common things. I did some reviews with some of these clients just last week, and every single one of them said, I feel like I am a completely different person. I have more ability to deal with life, even when things are absolutely chaotic at work or at home. I just have the ability to cope with it, and I don't lose my shit or spiral, so to speak. This lady here, she's like, oh, after our last session the other day, I woke up before my alarm went off, and I've got so much more energy, and I'm happy to get into my day, which is usually on my hit snooze multiple times a day. This woman over here, she's like, this has been one of the most transformative experiences of my life. And she even shared with me that it's actually been more healing and more therapeutic than therapy. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a place for therapy. I'm going to really share a little about Kim's story down here. I love this. Darling girl, I've had the biggest change in my emotional life. I feel a happiness and free and light that I haven't felt in years. I feel calmer in this world. I can deal with all the different personalities, people around me, without feeling anxious or angry. Oh my God, how will I feel after we've done even more work? From my whole heart, thank you. I think there was a typo in that. So that's just some of the stories. And these women were just like you. Some of them felt really lost and hopeless, and that there was no way to change things. They'd tried so many different things, but what they discovered through what I'm going to share with you today, that things can be simple and it can change very, very quickly. These clients have all done my accelerator program, and they had profound and accelerated transformations. Where did it all start? Well, it started with me, kind of. So as a teenager, I had chronic fatigue and headaches. Well, what I found out was chronic fatigue. Short version is tried a gazillion different things, finally was referred to a naturopath, which is going back quite a while. I was 17 or 18 at the time, and I'm now 52. So that was before anyone knew what naturopaths were. And what came out of that was that I did have chronic fatigue, and I had a lot of food allergies. So or intolerances. I had to go on a very limited diet, and I was on about 12 different supplements, including intravenous vitamin C injections and vitamin B injections, working on the physical nutrition, supplements, these kinds of levels. And it really did transform my health so much that I decided I wanted to do the same thing. I wanted to be a naturopath, and I wanted to help other women. Well, in 6 months of being in private practice, I realized that I needed more tools to help clients cope with stress, the emotional aspect of health, and also behavioral change. Because let's be honest, most of us know that we need to eat better and move more, drink more water, go to bed early, turn our screens off, all those things, and yet we don't. So I went through this huge journey, which led to learning, becoming certified as a breathwork practitioner, multiple different coaching, mind-body techniques, certifications that all started in 2003. We are now in 2025, and I'm still my clients on the emotional level and the belief and the unconscious level and behavior. What a surprise. I realized that maybe I wasn't so all together as I thought. I realized that I actually had only ever done dysfunctional relationships, intimate relationships, and my longest relationship was 18 months. And by that stage, I'm in my 30s by now. So I really did deep dive into doing this inner work and transformation for myself. And as a result of that, worked through a lot of childhood trauma and these kinds of things in my early 30s. I also had endometriosis. So this started to open my eyes to things like autoimmune disease. Endometriosis is an autoimmune disease, and there is actually a strong correlation between autoimmune diseases and stress and trauma. So that was something that I was working on a physical level through my naturopathy, but also through the trauma and unconscious reprogramming mind-body work. So I will talk a bit about that. Fast forward to when I was 37, I actually was diagnosed with PTSD. Now, ironically, they're diagnosed with PTSD, which really did flip up until that point, a lot of the inner healing work that I had been doing, I had actually been doing it from a place of, I want to be a better practitioner and I want to help my clients. And it wasn't till I had PTSD, depression, anxiety, that I realized that I actually had to prioritize my own health and well-being. Now, I'm going to highly recommend that you don't wait till that point. Really, really don't wait to that point. But that really was a turning point for me, because I really had to decide that I was worth it. I was worth investing my time and energy in my own healing and in my own self-worth and my own recovery and my own life. And that was a massive catalyst, because what actually happened was I was able to heal my own PTSD in under 6 months. Now, that's actually extremely rare. It's very common that most people actually don't heal their PTSD, or if they do, they learn to manage it to a certain degree, and it's something that they're constantly having to have strategies to manage. So also experienced 2 bouts of burnout. One was that talked about, so I recovered from burnout twice. And then I talk about how menopause broke me again. So I actually was forced into menopause when COVID hit. Menopause really awakened this other level of, I knew hormones were key when it came to stress and burnout and mood and resilience and these sorts of things. But I really, really, really didn't understand it until I lived through, perimenopause and menopause, because literally working with thousands of clients over 23 years in private practice, most of which have actually been with women, putting all these different experiences together. When I looked at in each of these different areas, I worked on different things. I worked on physical, I worked on supplements and diet. I worked on somatic therapy. I worked on regulating my nervous system. I worked on how do I manage my stress, mindset, but also processing my emotions as well, and supporting clients through this work. On top of that, I also was realizing that, I did medical intuitive training and Reiki training and all these other things. So I've pulled everything together. What I'm realizing and what I've know to be true is when we look at all 5 layers, this is where the magic happened. This is where transformation and healing can be so deep and profound to the point where people say, I'm a completely different person to what I was 3 months ago. This is how it happens. And this is where the A5 activation framework was born. And I'm so excited to share it with you because it literally can change your life. First of all, I want you to know it's not your fault. You have been told all of these different things. Maybe you just need the magic pill or the diet. This diet worked for this person, so she felt amazing, so it must be the right diet for me. Oh, that didn't work, and they had this magic supplement that actually fixed them. They took ashwagandha and now they, feel amazing. So little note, ashwagandha, if you've got high cortisol, it could be great. But if you've got low cortisol, it's definitely not the right thing for you. So you may have tried so many different supplements and they might work, they might not work, they might work a little bit. Maybe you've done the yoga, the meditation, and the massage. And again, these are good support strategies, but are they dealing with the root cause? Most of the time, no. You might feel a little bit better. Maybe yoga and meditation will give you a little bit more capacity to deal with life, but it also depends on what else is going on. You've been told to say no. Just say no. Just, cross things off your to-do list. Set clear boundaries. Prioritize yourself. Do self-care. Go on a holiday. Go to bed earlier. They all sound great and amazing and are important things. And I'm not saying that I don't work at that level with my clients. However, if it was as simple as just say no, wouldn't we all do that? Except for the fact that as women, there is cultural programming that we have all bought into because it's been passed down through generation after generation after generation after generation, that we can't say no, that we have to take care of everybody else and put everybody else's needs before our own. Not to mention that one of the types of estrogen literally makes us do that as well. So just say no doesn't exactly work. We have to reprogram the belief systems and understand how, I'm not going to go into it right now, but look, just know that boundaries are important. There's no doubt about it. Absolutely, so important. And it's about getting to the root cause of why you feel like you can't say no. That's the thing. And then guess what? You will say no. And I'm going to share some stories and you'll be able to easily do it and you won't upset other people. And in fact, people's behavior will just start changing. It's kind of weird, but it happens with my clients all the time. Or you've just been told that it's just stress and you need to deal with it and part of life, whoops, and that you just have to put up with it, deal with it, You got to heal your trauma, change your mindset, think positive, do talk therapy, all these things. Again, all these things, maybe they do have a place. But is one or two of these things going to allow your body to fully recover and heal and build your resilience? If it was going to, you probably wouldn't be here. So let's talk about what's actually going on. So as I mentioned, I talked about the A5 activation framework. And I'm just going to go through this really quickly. So stress isn't just a thing that you're dealing with right here and right now. Your brain, if we look at this top image, your brain and your nervous system is filtering information, like millions of bits of information every second. And it comes in through our five senses, everything we hear, touch, taste, smell, and hear, touch, taste, smell, and feel. I'm touching my hand, feel, and also our sixth sense actually energetically can pick up threats as well. And then we also have what is called interoception, which is our body sensing and processing the input from the messages inside our body, like from your digestive system. Do I need to go and have a wee? These sorts of things. And also our thoughts. So a threat, this is representing a threat up here. A threat can be an actual threat or it can be a perceived threat, meaning the thoughts that I'm having, the thoughts that I'm having about the people around me, the thoughts that I'm having about work, the thoughts that I'm having about money, the thoughts that I'm having about myself. I'm not good enough. The thoughts about, the shame that I feel about something that I did in the past that I'm not proud about. The thoughts about the anger and the resentment that I've held on to from things that have happened in my past, projecting myself into the future, worrying about something that may or may not happen. All of those things are just a normal daily stress. All of those things then get filtered through our past experiences. Everything from our past, mostly from our childhood up until the age of 7, is where we build this filing cabinet system of basically the brain is making decisions. Was this safe and good, or was this not safe and bad? And all that information that passes through here goes through those two filing cabinets. And then the brain is basically deciding safe, good, not safe, bad, safe, good, not safe, bad, safe, good, not safe, bad, right? And it's just all happening constantly. We're not aware of it, because if we were consciously paying attention to all of this information that we were being flooded with, like we would all be rocking backwards and forwards in the corner, right? This is all programmed unconscious response. So the brain filters out basically what to pay attention to. Like I said, that was good and positive, so do more of that. That was bad and negative. Avoid that at all cost. Okay, I'm going to have a quick sip of water. Man, I'm already 20 minutes in. Okay, then we go through the past filter into the what I call the 5 influencing factors. Now, each of these 5 influencing factors, this is bidirectional, meaning the stress that I just talked about, the stress will impact these 5 things, and these 5 things will impact the stress response. And I'm going to talk about the actual response in a minute. So we've got things like, have you eaten? Have you got low blood sugar? What's your insulin levels like? Nutritional deficiencies. Have you eaten anything that you're allergic or have an intolerance to? Your digestive health. Have you got a parasite infection? Have you got digestive dysbiosis? Your hormones, if you're premenstrual or you're in perimenopause or menopause, your progesterone may be low, and progesterone actually is a stress resilience hormone. So if that's low, that's going to impact your stress resilience. How much sleep have you had? Like we all know, we're all tired and grumpy when we haven't had enough sleep. And then this one down is actually your nervous system regulation in that moment. Now, remembering stress impacts those 5 things, and those 5 things impact how we respond to stress. So we have a thought or an experience in life. It gets filtered through here, all these 5 factors, influencing factors, and then the body has a stress response, which sets off the nervous system and the whole hormonal system. It's a combined process which impacts the nervous system and the hormonal system. I'm not going to go into detail about that. And then from that, what happens is that impacts our thoughts that we have, our feelings that we feel in our body, and our emotions. And then this sets off a behavior. Do we go into this paralyzed, shut down, procrastination, isolating? Do we get teary and emotional, or maybe even people pleasing? Do we get reactive? Maybe we get angry or irritable, or we just want to keep busy and keep going. And the thought of stopping and being still actually makes us feel really, really uncomfortable. Or do we, ideally, go into a place of being alert, but not activated, and open-hearted and connected in our relationships and in our world. So this is how it works. And then, because this impacts our behavior, well, what happens? That then impacts the results that we get in life, and therefore sets off another cycle of the stress response. So we get caught in this stress response, going backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. So let me introduce you to the energy resilience and confidence blueprint. So this is the actual blueprint. So this is the goal. This is what you want. You want more energy, you want resilience, and you want to be confident in your day-to-day life, in your career and your work and your relationships and your roles as a partner and a mother. And you just want to feel confident and good in who you are as a person, let's be honest. So the red is maybe some of the symptoms that you're experiencing. Maybe you're experiencing exhaustion, hormonal imbalances, mood swings, brain fog, and no motivation. But what you really want is to be energized, balanced, focused, and motivated. And that's the goal, definitely. And maybe you're experiencing stress, overwhelm, self-doubt, inner criticism. And what you want is to feel calm, clear, confident, at peace in the moment, able to deal with life as it happens. And then, of course, we have this other side of the triangle, puffy, pain, and inflammation. And I struggled to come up with a term there. So I just went with flowing and free. You want to be flowing and free. So I'm going to unpack that. How does this happen? Can we make it happen? Damn right we can. So we're going to start down the bottom, restore. It's down the bottom for a reason. This is the foundation. A5 activation has to happen in a certain order. Now I'm going to go through these 3 main pillars, and then each pillar has 3 steps, and I'm going to go through the steps very lightly. But it's really, really important to know this process has to happen in the right order to get the most profound result, and for it to happen quickly, and for it to be sustainable, and to not do more damage. I want you to hear that, to not do more damage. Because if this is done in the wrong order, it can cause more damage, or it just ends up being an endless supply of taking supplements and detoxing or therapy, or reactivating old stress and trauma. And that doesn't help anybody to heal. So restore. We're going to store energy, balance, hormones, these sorts of things. So the first part of this process is to enhance energy and focus. And this is done really, really simply with a couple of little tweaks to somebody's diet and It's focused on putting things in, not taking things out, and it's simple and doable for everybody. And just this in itself can be life to speak, and it definitely will increase your energy and your ability to concentrate and focus. Then we're going to like these, each pillar has, these are kind of like accelerators. Each one is a different accelerator. Optimize the brain and the body. This is the accelerator where we will be adding in, everybody's different, right? 1 or 2 very focused and specific supplements that are going to work at the core root cause of correcting deficiencies and having a flow-on effect and really increasing your energy. Like this supplement, the main supplement I use, it does change for other people because it's always going to be what's the best thing for them. But the main one, the most common one that I use, was shown in a clinical study to increase energy by 35%. I'm going to repeat that. Increase energy by 35%. So if you just do, going to balance the hormones. And again, this could be estrogen, it could be progesterone, it could be testosterone, it could be cortisol. It might be all of them. It might be your thyroid hormones. They all impact. Hormones are like a spider web. They all flow on and impact each other. And cortisol is your stress hormone. Okay. Cortisol impacts your estrogen and your progesterone, and estrogen, progesterone impact your cortisol, and they impact your thyroid. It's all interconnected. So we've got to get a nice, beautiful balance between all of them. And this is going to restore this balance by doing these 3 things first. This level really can change somebody's life. It really can. And it can happen literally within 2 weeks. I see dramatic changes just by doing this within 2 weeks. The problem is a lot of people just stop at that, right? That's all they do. And what that means is they're going to take supplements forever. And that used to be what I used to do. And clients would feel better, but they were taking supplements forever. It was still a superficial layer. It wasn't addressing the root cause. I want to introduce you to Kim. Whenever I think about Kim's story, I almost get emotional. Now, I am sharing this with her permission, and this is her. She sent me a photo one day, and this was within the first 4 weeks of us working together from memory. And she was driving to work and she was so happy, and she just sort of wanted to like capture the moment. And she sent it to me. Now, when Kim started with me, she was exhausted, depressed, and getting sick all the time. So she was this is Kim's cycle of what her life looked like for about 3 years. She'd wake up, she'd go to work, she would come home, she would eat dinner and go to bed at 8 o'clock. She would wake up, go to work, come home, have dinner, go to bed at 8 o'clock. Wake up, go to work, come home, have dinner, go to bed at 8 o'clock. That was her life for 3 years. And one other thing happened. About every 2 weeks, she would get some kind of infection, a sinus infection, a throat infection, a chest infection, and would need to go on antibiotics about every 2 weeks. And this was her life for 3 years. That was her life for 3 years. So I actually didn't even know the extent of just how bad her mental health was, until she got better. Within about a month, she actually was kind of fessed up as to how bad she really was. So I want you to just kind of use your imagination there. But I say here that she's energized, she's motivated, and she's happy, because she's constantly telling me how happy she is. And when she sees her friends, they're like, how are you? She's like, I'm happy. I'm so happy. I can't believe how happy I am. And you know what they say? Yeah, no kidding. We can see it. And you know what's super exciting is that this work. Kim's a skin therapist and a business owner. And not only has all that happened, she's actually doubled her income. Without even trying, she's doubled her income. And this is a common thing that happens with my clients. I won't go into it, but it's very common that they end up making more money or magically manifesting payments from the government or gifts. It's kind of weird. Now we're going to move over to the second side of the triangle, rewire. Now I'm going to be really transparent. This is the work I love doing. I'm so passionate about this work. Again, when it's done in the right order, after we've done restore, this changes people's lives. This is poof, poof, where the magic happens. So the first thing we do, these are actually out of order purely because I couldn't fit them in. The first thing is actually this middle one. We decrease the impact that stress has on the brain and the body. This one simple tool takes around 10 to 15 minutes. It might feel a little clunky to start with and take a bit longer, but it still works. The more you do it, the quicker and more efficient you become, but it's about 10 minutes. I can do it sometimes in about 5 minutes, and I think most of my clients can too. This one tool, I call it taking your emotional garbage out every day. It stops all those little daily things that we think don't matter and aren't a big thing. They all pile up and they pile up and they pile up and they pile up and they pile up, just like a big pile of SHIT. And if a big pile of SHIT builds up, what happens? It stinks out the house. You get rats. You know, I don't know why I'm using that analogy, but it's the analogy that came through. It sounds gross, and it is gross. But all of these daily things that just happen, like, I don't know, someone said they were going to do something for you and they didn't do it. Someone cut you off in traffic. The kids, you know, didn't unpack their school bags or didn't put their washing. Like, the things that we just go is just life. Yes. However, when you've got a little tool, simple tool that helps you to just kind of take that garbage out every day, it's a mind-body tool. I can't tell you, it's magic. It literally just increases people's capacity to deal with life. We can be stuck in a default stress mode, and it could be overwhelm or procrastination. It could be self-sabotage. It could be defensiveness. It could be, I've got to keep busy. Whatever it is, everybody's different. And sometimes we can have two of people pleasing. That's another one. Sometimes we can have 2 or 3 that are sort of running in the background, like an app running in the background on your phone, draining all your energy. These stuck stress responses are the same. They drain the energy and they decrease our capacity, and they form our beliefs about who we are, what we deserve in life, how people treat us, and how we think the world works. So we are able to rewire these stress modes, get you out of these stuck stress modes, so you can actually have conscious choice and conscious thought in how you show up in your day-to-day life. That's probably the easiest way of describing it. I'm going on a bit. I'm looking at time. It's 37 minutes. I'm going to share a story about, we're going to call her A. I nearly said her name. So she's totally given me permission to share her story, and she just prefers to be anonymous, which I get. So A is a pharmacist, and she was overwhelmed, anxious, was doing like living in emotional eating, and she has shifted to feeling calm, confident, and making healthy choices in her life. Oh my God, where do I start? Avoided looking at herself in the mirror. She was emotional and stress eating. She basically, kind of similar but a little bit different to Kim, was getting up, going to work. She wasn't cooking dinner. She was ordering Uber Eats. And this is with no judgment or shame. It's just a fact. We're just looking at the information. This is what was happening. And she was really in a cycle of beating herself up and going, well, I just need more willpower. I need to do a diet because I just need to take better care of myself. And I said, well, and if that worked, it would have worked already. It's like you've got a default stress pattern, which is basically what's happening is that it's taking all of your physical, mental, and emotional energy to get up in the morning and go to work in this stuck stress mode. So what happens by the time you get home, you've got nothing. You are like literally a flat battery. So no wonder you have no capacity to go, oh, I'm going to cook dinner, or to make healthy choices, because it's not a willpower game. You literally have no more capacity left. And when I said that to her, she just kind of, oh my God, okay, what do we need to do? How do we fix this? And we did. And now, and again, within a very short period of time, within 2 weeks, she was feeling calmer. She had, her teenage son had said, Mum, you're not yelling at me so much these days. You just seem happier. And her snacking had decreased by 90%, 90% without trying. She wasn't consciously trying to change her snacking, right? We dealt with the root cause. And then the other thing that happened was, there was so much, actually. There was so much that happened for her. She was making help. Oh, yeah, she stopped doing Uber Eats. And she's like, I'm saving like hundreds of dollars a month because I'm not doing Uber Eats anymore. I'm actually preparing our meals at home. And I'm preparing them and I'm cooking them and I'm eating them, because sometimes she shared with me last week, well, it's a constant thing that people are telling her, oh, you seem calmer, you seem more confident, calmer, confident. I hear this over again. Calmer, confident. I can cope better. I feel like a completely different person. I know I'm repeating these things. They all say it. The women who do the 90-day accelerator, I'm going to be very clear, because the 90-day accelerator is where I've brought everything together. And this is the 90-day accelerator is what's changing lives like that. I'm so passionate about it. Can you tell? Like, I'm on a mission now. I'm so on a mission. Okay, right. Let's go into refine. So this is about, like, I called it refine because it literally is. It's so interesting because, we've got decreased inflammation, reduced toxic load, and movement with ease. So as naturopaths work a lot on decreasing inflammation and reducing toxic load with detoxes and things like that. But here's the thing, they often start here. I don't. This is the third step of this process for a reason, because when we do restore and rewire, a lot of this automatically resolves. We might need to refine, fine-tune things and do a little bit. That's it. We might just need to tweak one little thing. Oh, it looks like maybe there's a bit of inflammation. Is there something that you're eating that's causing that? Do you have some kind of intolerance that's causing it? Is there some kind of low-grade infection in your body that hasn't been resolved, that we need to address? And why, when naturopaths work here without doing this stuff, they might do a little bit here, but again, often they go straight in here, is when they're not dealing with these other underlying root causes, these things impact the immune system. So if you've got a low-grade infection in your body, or digestive dysbiosis, and you haven't built the foundations and the rewiring of the unconscious and gotten rid of, really bad grammar, I don't know how to say it, I'm going to say it, gotten rid of the default stress mode, I've lost my word, but we'll go with that. Then if you don't do those things, then the immune system can't function properly. So it's this constant chasing of supplements and herbs and detoxes, and I feel great when I do it, but as soon as I go outside of that, it all comes back again. So, and we also, with the toxic load, this is where, these things, I'm also bringing in some of the energy stuff, right? Who's ever been with somebody and or in a situation where you're like, you couldn't explain it, but you just felt exhausted and depleted, this is because we are picking up energetically as well. So we even do work on an energy level to identify what is energetically overloading our system and also draining us as well. And this can be kind of a little bit magic sometimes, to be honest, when we do this. I want to share a story about B. B is a school teacher and a mum of 4 kids. And she had lots of different things going on, but she really did have a lot of issues with pain in her joints, and she was quite puffy. She did have a lot of anxiety. And she also, which I didn't put on here, she also had lots of issues with her menstrual cycle, lots of heavy and painful periods as well. What happened with her, I'll never forget it. She came onto a session. I always start my sessions, okay, what's one thing you want to share as I went? And she said to me, I'm having moments where there's no thoughts in my mind. There's none. It's just quiet. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, I've never had that before. It's like with anxieties, there's a lot of thoughts going on. She's like, I actually have moments where my mind is quiet. I'm like, amazing. Which is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about pain and inflammation, but I had to share that because that, again, was so profound. And she's done therapy, years and years and years of therapy, and none of that had resolved. And then she's actually enjoying exercise as well with her family, going on bike rides and, doing exercise routines, 4 or 5 times a week. Because she feels comfortable in her body and she isn't full of pain. And you know what? One of the things with her that she was really wary of, she's like, I do all these diets and detoxes and I feel really good when I do them, but I can't live like that. She's like, I've got a life, I've got a job, I've got kids. I can't give up anything that's fun or pleasurable. And she's like, I can't stick to these things. I feel great when I'm on them, but I just need something that is doable that I can stick to. And we made little tiny tweaks. There was one food she was reacting to that were like actually, and she actually did have an autoimmune condition linked to it. So she did have to pull it out, but we did it in a way where she built up to that. And what we did that really supported her was that we made nutrition easy. I was like, let's just focus on putting one thing in. Like, just put one thing in. If you've got your meal prepared, and then just add color to it. That's it. Just add more color to it. It can be simple. It can be simple when you're doing the inner work here and here, because we store our emotions in our body and our unresolved stuff in our body, which it influences our thoughts and our beliefs. When we do that inner work, we just make healthier choices. You don't have to try. You don't have to try. Amanda, who I was talking about before, the pharmacist, she said, I'm just so sick of diets. I've done all the diets and they don't work. I'm like, no, they don't work. She said, I just want it to be easy. I just want food to be easy. And that's exactly what happened with her. She's like, I'm just naturally drawn to making healthier choices. And she was also drawn to, it does have to happen in the right order, restore, rewire, and refine. And it can be very much an ebbing and flowing once we kind of get that. So I forgot to say, obviously I didn't share the photos of these people, so I've come up with little icons that to me represent who they are. So every one of these women, and often all the women that work with me, there is often a level of doubt and fear about the process. There's a core knowing in their body that I know this is what I need and that what I've done in the past hasn't worked. There's like this core knowing. And then after that is often followed with, oh yeah, but what if it doesn't work for me? What if it's too hard? What if, what if? And every single one of these women had a what if or a fear or something that they thought was going to stop this process from being successful. And every single one of them found a way around that fear. They either questioned the belief and the thought of, well, what if it doesn't work for me? It was like, because we've had failures in the past, so then we project those failures onto what we're going to do now. But the thing is, have you done this before? No, you might have done one or two little things, but you've never had this approach before you've taken. So Jay over here, she's actually a naturopath, and she very much knew that this was the work that she wanted to do, to work with me as a naturopath. Even though she's a naturopath, she's got young kids and her own business, but she's like, I need somebody to support me. She was feeling really stressed and anxious and overwhelmed, and was, just doing things to cope, which weren't the healthiest coping mechanism. And who doesn't have a non-healthy coping mechanism? And she's like, as soon as I saw your post, I knew I wanted to work with you. And she nearly didn't. She's like, I can't afford it. I can't afford it. But she, deep down, she knew this is what she needed. And I think she kind of knew it was going to, well, maybe she didn't know how much it was going to change her life. So she actually borrowed the money to do it, because she knew deep down, this was the answer to turning things around for her. Dresser and a mum, and she had a lot of tension and anxiety and fear and worry about her family's health and well-being. And there were actually things going on in there with their health and well-being. And she was having all these stress and anxiety about it. And what happened is, I was able to take her through a process where she, I won't go through it in too much detail, but I took her through a process where all the tension, all the stress, all the anxiety and the worry was gone. And what happened was, I said, so how do you feel now when you think about all the things that are going on? And she said, oh, well, I'll just deal with them as they happen. So she'd moved out of this like constant state of fear and worry about them to just being calm, resilient, present. I can deal with it as it happens. So it's this idea of, I've got to try and fix, instead of trying to fix everything outside of me, how can I just create that center and calm within me? And that's what this work does. You get to show up differently in your day-to-day life to the people that matter, and you being the number one person that matters at the top of that list. Kim's biggest fear was actually doing the inner work. The inner work. Kim really did. I forgot to say, she actually stopped getting infections, and her energy just skyrocketed. I don't even know if I even shared that turnaround with her within a really, really short period of time. But Kim was, really hesitant and wary about doing some of the internal processing work. And I just reassured her that we're going to go super, super slow. We go at our own pace. We just started with that simple reset process where she could just deal with life a little bit easier. And even just doing that, things like headaches were going away, gut issues, all these things, that the physical symptoms of stress were going away, like very quickly. And over time, as she started to build that resilience, because through that restore phase, as that increased, her capacity to deal with the other stuff increased, and we went slowly, and her confidence grew, and she realized, oh, it's actually not what I thought it was going to be. It's not as hard as I thought it was going to be. It's not traumatic like I thought it was going to be. It's actually, I feel better for it. Like, I feel calmer. I feel more at peace. I feel like a weight has been lifted. The pharmacist, she had resistance around doing another diet, like I said, so we didn't do another diet with her. And she was like questioning, investing that much money in myself. I'll happily spend it, I'll happily spend it on the kids. I'll happily spend that money on the kids, but I don't usually prioritize my own health and well-being. So she really had this fear. And often when we don't want to prioritize our own health, whether it's time, energy, money, saying no, I'm going to add that in there. It's because sometimes, not all the time, that we either, underneath that, there's something else. We either fear that we'll fail or fear that maybe we don't deserve it. So I'm just going to let that land. And that's what was going on with her. There was fear of failure. And did she really feel like she deserved to be happy? Did she really think it was possible to be happy? And B up here, it was time. She was she had a job, teacher, and 4 kids. She's like, I don't have time for this. I'm like, it doesn't have to take a lot of time. We can make it simple. Okay, so here's the thing. If you're like, okay, this is blowing my mind a little bit, what can I do? What's the next step? There's actually 2 options. Depending on where you have seen this video will depend on the option. So one option is that if there's a link below that says Vitality Breakthrough Session, that's an option. That's a 90-minute session, which clients actually pay $300 for. And I do offer a limited number. Sometimes I'll have them, maybe 2 a week, and sometimes I don't have any available. It'll ebb and flow. When you click on the button below, you'll know if there's actually any available for free. So if there is any available complimentary, now would be the time to book it. You're going to discover the root cause of your fatigue and burnout, learn how to shift into resilience and sustainable energy, and leave with clarity about what is the root cause for you, even if we don't do any further work together. There's never any obligation. It's because for me, it's also knowing, what, is this the right thing for you as well? I'm not going to sell you something that I don't think is the right thing for you. Like, that doesn't serve you, and it certainly doesn't serve my reputation either. The second option is, again, depending on where you see this video, will be that you actually might be able to click a link somewhere on the page. If it's on YouTube, it'll most likely be in the description of the video, of where you can either click a link to go to the 90-day stress, recover, and resilience method recovery program. No, that's not what it's called. Stress recovery and resilience method 90-day accelerator, which is powered by A5 activation framework. I know is what's having these results and transforming people's lives and who they are. So depending on where you are, click the link, either book in for a Vitality Breakthrough session or go and check out the details for the 90-day accelerator. My name's Nicole Coutts. I'm a naturopath, mind-body practitioner, healer, coach, and also